Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you may be in this wonderful world in which we live. My name's Mike Browne, an award-winning photographer of many years' experience. These days, I mostly train and consult. My videos usually involve exploring on a motorbike and teaching photography along the way. In March this year, myself and 3 friends visited somewhere that really wasn't wonderful at all when we took 10 tons of clothes, food and toiletries from help from Bournemouth to Ukraine to a refugee centre on the Poland-Ukraine border. Visiting that place broke my heart, but it was mended again by the wonderful people I met there, giving selflessly of themselves to help others who had lost everything. It seems that where the very worst of humanity exists, so too does the very best. One such person is Janusz Gorski, and the blue van he calls the Taxi of Hope, in which he carries aid from his colleagues in Bournemouth, UK, into Ukraine. Janusz ensures that this vital supplies get to the right place and helps refugees along that painful road out of war. I want to share his story with you, show you how he and others like him are making such a difference. And as a photographer, I want to give you a small glimpse of their world. There are some stories that need telling, stories behind the clinically delivered headlines to which we become so desensitized, stories of more than survival, stories of hope. What's our plan for today? Where are we going?
Things can change pretty much from hour to hour. Many times you have all these other things just appearing out of the blue and you have to deal with it as well. So hope you will enjoy the time in Ukraine, and I know you have some concerns, but don't be afraid, I'll be good. I lived there for the last 6 weeks and only missed the rocket once.
And on that note, we better go. Thank you, Janusz.
No problem.
Janusz is an adventurer. He's travelled all over the world, he's worked all over the world, he's volunteered in various places, and that's what got him interested in doing this. Carol has done this amazing job creating this army of hope in Bournemouth, gathering support and aid, but then down here with Janusz on the ground, he is making sure that all of that help goes to the most vulnerable people where it's most needed, because he is going in and out of Ukraine, right into areas of conflict. And there are also the vultures circling. There are those with golden hearts and black hearts. So there's now people trafficking starting to happen. There are people coming along pretending to distribute aid and help to these poor souls who've lost everything. And actually, they're just stealing it, they're just taking it. On the Polish side is a place where people can get food, hot drinks, SIM cards, clothing and medical assistance before moving on into a new and uncertain future in an unfamiliar country. It's called the Refugee Village. There's a lady here completely in bits. This is hell. Imagine that misery. I just feel guilty, but this is how you do it. I felt like a vampire for taking that photograph. But many of these people want the story of what's happening to them to be told and heard. As a photographer and YouTuber, the best way I can help them is by documenting and publicising it in the hopes that you may feel moved enough to help her and others like her in whatever way you can. It was bizarre walking amongst the stalls, packed with pizzas, curries and drinks, so reminiscent of a street fair or festival. Only here everything is free, and of course the customers, they don't come by choice. It struck me just how normal everyone looked as they fled Ukraine into Poland. But then what do people fleeing war look like? They look uncomfortably like you and I. I mean, how would I feel, leaving the safe, comfortable and loved in ruins behind me? We got talking to a guy dressed as if out for an afternoon walk in the country. He was waiting, hoping to meet his wife when and if she managed to cross the border. But amongst all the sadness, there were happier emotions too. I just saw the girl coming through from Ukraine with a big smile and the guy meeting her. And it's just trying to capture that moment, because this isn't just about sad and people crying, this is about being reunited and feeling safe. Isla Smotrich from Saboteurs Sans Frontières, an Israeli medical relief agency, agrees. Wherever the very worst things in the world are happening, so too are people like you and others who come out with the biggest of hearts to come and help.
Yeah, I think it's so realistic because you push the button and the worst thing ever happened, but the same button makes the beautiful, the most beautiful thing here. So many people all over the world, they are all stopped their lives, their jobs, leave their family, and they came here and they just wanted to help. It's amazing. It's really.
One such amazing person is ex-Utah police officer Mike Corrie.
About 3 weeks ago, I really wanted to help, and I just didn't know how to start, who to support, who to give money to. So I made the decision of just coming here by myself, flying into Warsaw, and then kind of figuring it out from there. And I got connected from a gentleman named Brett to Janusz. He never stops. Hours of driving, communication, strategizing. So many volunteers are taken care of, but not only that, but making sure that people in the Ukraine are taken care of. His work ethic is incredible. This is somebody that's a perfect example of somebody we should be supporting. It's been life-changing, and I would tell him thank you, from the bottom of my heart, that I fully plan on returning because of my experience with Janusz.
That afternoon at the Dolobicu border crossing, 40 tons of supplies waited to be transferred from one truck to another for the onward journey into Ukraine. With no forklift available, Janusz got on that ever-present phone, and within minutes, a small army of helpers materialised from nearby farms and industrial units. A steel plate was placed between the trucks to serve as a bridge, and 40 minutes later, another task was completed. Crossing into Ukraine was easy, but time-consuming. It was dark and cold when we were welcomed into a tent and given coffee by more amazing people who've been helping refugees 24/7 since war broke out. I wonder how people who'd queued for 9 kilometres to escape that war felt as they passed the sign outside. It was almost curfew when we arrived in Shevonograd and offloaded more supplies at Starlife, an organisation who arrange aid distribution throughout Ukraine. A golden angel called Ira and her young son Sasha made us beds on the sofa and floor of their small apartment. Tired and emotional, we completely forgot to record them. Janusz was tied up in a meeting at Starlife, so Mike and I went out for a look around Shevonograd, and whilst filming a really rather lovely church, got an unexpected visit.
Dobry dzień.
Dobry lunek?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Where are you from?
Okay.
England.
England.
Yeah.
England.
Do you speak Ukraine?
I'm afraid no.
Once they'd seen our passports, photos and the videos we'd taken, the officers visibly relaxed, but were extremely reluctant to come with us to Starlife's offices to get things fully straightened out. We later learnt that Russian agents use phones to geotag locations for missile strikes. And in hindsight, we realised that from the officers' point of view, we could be leading them into an ambush, potentially placing their lives, 2 uniforms and a police car directly into enemy hands. Once everything was straightened out, I asked Janusz what the day may bring.
The plan for today is called to make sure we send as much as possible of the donations that we received in the last 2 days. And along this, we also have more donations coming, so we need to make sure this is getting to the right places.
How long are we staying in Lviv?
Till probably 6-8 p.m. It's very difficult to give times. Here are changing from literally from an hour to hour. You sort of give yourself a targets for today and trying to achieve this by the end of the day. I mean, for you guys, yesterday was a little bit full, hectic, crazy. But it's like this for us since it was 6 weeks now. So it's just another day.
Janusz thinks nothing of 16-hour days, 7 days a week. On the outskirts of Shevonograd, another truck had arrived from help from Bournemouth to Ukraine. With the ever-present phone to his ear, I photographed him being a leader. People materialise whenever he needs help and cheerfully do what he asks. Being effective, he gets stuff done. He does more good in a single day than most people do in a year. Janusz is a problem solver with a relentlessly positive attitude. He's like a steamroller, routinely demolishing the challenges put in front of him. He's also a family man who faced a dilemma.
My son's birthday is within the next 2 weeks, so I'm definitely gonna be there. I'll see how much time I can take off, because the problem is so many things rely on me here now. My son even organized this bake sale when he baked a lot of cakes and cookies. He loves baking. And he managed to fundraise like £700 on 2 occasions, and he put this money into the non-profit organization that is providing aid in Poland for the orphanages.
Great bit of interaction. Whilst reviewing some of the images I'd shot earlier, someone came over and said Janusz was looking for me.
The Ayla from the medical NGO in Medica that you met yesterday. Issues that appear now is to transport a family of 3 from Lviv to Medica, from Medica to Warsaw, from Warsaw to Israel by plane. And my part is just to get them to Medica, you know. And there's one Holocaust survivor there, a very old lady. So tomorrow morning at 10:30 I have to be in Lviv to pick this family up in our taxi of hope and transport them to the Medica, and from there they will go to Warsaw. You know.
Janusz's plan had been to take us to the Polish border 2 hours away in Medica that evening so that we could reach Krakow in Poland in time for our flight to the UK, and then he was going to stay overnight himself for some much needed rest. But a 10 a.m. pickup of the elderly family in Lviv meant he'd be making the journey twice in one morning, a total of 8 hours driving. But he just did what he always does, smile and get on with it. Never having entered a city at war before, I was apprehensive as we approached Lviv. Janusz told us we were completely safe, then happily described how a few weeks before he'd been driving along this same street as buildings alongside it were being shelled. This is his video of it happening. Lviv felt strangely normal. Cars and buses. Maybe a few soldiers crossing the street. It didn't fit my expectation of what a city at war should look like, and therein lies the terrible truth. One moment you're going about life as usual, and the next, explosions, smoke, life in ruin, and running for your life with what little hope you can carry with you. In Lviv City Library, bookshelves have been pushed aside to make space for aid. It was here that we met Vitaly, who until recently had run a small restaurant in Odessa with his girlfriend. A 4 a.m. phone call told them Russian troops were in the city and to flee as quickly as possible, so they grabbed what they could and went to Lviv, where they volunteered as aid workers. What was it like here 6 weeks ago?
Well, the city was pretty empty because everyone was masking, not a lot of people on the streets, and everything was closed. 2 weeks later, the city just started to leave. Few cafes started working, few shops, and it just went growing. And now we have a lot of people on the streets, queues in the restaurants, and it seems like nothing is happening. However,
However, you are at war.
yes, but people are just trying to live their lives and also to bring economy back to life.
I always say to people, welcome to this wonderful world we live in. And yeah, we've been some places on our journey where things have not been at all wonderful. But the wonderful thing is, look at the human spirit. Look at the people who are helping other people. And the wonderful people of Ukraine who are just refusing to be crushed, who are going to go out and maybe appreciate life a little bit more than they did before. I don't know.
Everything that you see here is only because the Ukrainian people, they believe in our army, and then they believe that we will win. That's the main reason. It's not that we're just waiting when we will be totally crushed. It's just we need to wait just to make sure our army makes everything they need and go back to the peaceful life. It's just a matter of time. This is what people here really believe. That's why they're here and they can live their lives and not run away or just give up. So Just
Right.
that, because we believe that we win.
Thank you for showing us around, Vitaly.
Yeah.
Give
You're
me a-
always welcome.
Give me a hug, brother.
Yeah.
There is no doubt in my mind that Vitaly embodies the spirit of the Ukrainian people and their desire to just be themselves and live how they choose. Isn't that basically what we all want? At the time of filming, help from Bournemouth to Ukraine have grown way beyond the precincts of Bournemouth and are rebranding to reflect this. But the connection between them and Janusz remains as lean a machine as it's possible to create. Powered by volunteers with leadership that appears to live on thin air, with help from their supporters, their savings, whilst working every hour they can. The trust between the dedicated kind of we can do this effervescence of Carol at one end and the humble, hard-working and highly effective Janusz at the other is what makes this supply chain work. There are many dangers in getting aid where it's needed. Wherever people are vulnerable, human vultures start to gather. The evil of people trafficking is just one such example. False aid agencies selling supplies for profit is another. So thank goodness people like Janusz exist to restore our faith. He's a champion, a torchbearer, a guardian, and to my mind, a hero. I want you to help me support him and others like him by clicking the link in the description area below. Please come and take a look, because nothing feels better than helping someone else. I wish you well, and I look forward to seeing you next time.